the clock. They really fucking do what I do. Once again, outside, figure out what it is. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do something. I know how to get to this one. You don't. What do you do? You drive? How many quarters do you think you're going to drive? My personal opinion, whoever's in the foundation now, they're doing it because of the accident that happened in life. I think that's my question.
Did you ever hear their plan for back then?
Yeah, I never listened to the first round context and it's all analysis and stuff. I mean, I didn't care.
You were saying the guy, his name from
The guy,
fundraising, so he can give you an interview?
yeah, one of Ed's friends.
I was going to work for him when he interviewed me. He said, yeah, you should come work for me. I'll give you $1 more.
Hey, Tim. Last week I did a set of tongs. Last week I did a set of them tongs. The bolt jaw tongs for 3/8. Earlier I did a set for 1/2 inch. And once again, it's just out of a railroad spike. Cut the heads off. Just use the material. And I'm going to make a set of 1/4 inch because when I first started blacksmithing, those were the 3 main sizes I used was 1/4, 1/2, and 3/8 for material or stock size. It's easy enough to work with. You're not killing yourself. So I put a notch in there. Roger Caldwell, how we doing? So yeah, like I said, Roger, I kind of, when Yamez stopped doing the live streams and stuff, I kind of threw out the offer to go ahead and start doing some live streams so that they could just do the Sunday morning church. You can see I'm digging that corner of my hammer right in so that I can draw that material out. Then I'll flatten it back out. I'm starting to draw out the chunk that's going to be the whatchamacallit? Rockies Hoffner. Don't think I know that person. So I kind of threw it out there that, you know, offered to do some of the Sunday night streams to take the load off, and figured if a few of us got together and did it, then, you know, rather than just letting the whole channel die. But I've been making these jaws. I'm starting out with about 1.25 inch material. 1.25 inch off the end of that bar. And I'll stretch that out until I get it to about the width of my anvil, maybe a little bit more, so it'll be 3.25 or so. So basically, I'm just out here in my, in my shop, goofing off most Sundays, and I'll throw it on and go live. I've been doing it every Sunday for, I don't know, the past month and a half or so. I've been going on every Sunday, but who knows what's to be determined. I never really wanted to do this full. Now the width of my anvil is 3 inches, so I'll know when I get 3 inches out, because I'll be even with that edge. Like I said, I'll probably go just a little bit beyond it. Then just trying to make it smooth. Straighten it out. You can see that's the first step. And like I said, I'm about 3.25. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to set that one aside, and once again I'm going to do that in each step on both things. So on both halves. So I'll do this step on both halves, then I'll go back to that one and do the next step. Just doing some bolt jaw tongs. Last week I did a pair for 3/8. This holds 3/8 square stock. Holds them pretty good. And earlier I did a pair of 1/2 inch. These are really kind of wonky. One side's ended up being a little longer than the other, and somehow I didn't notice it. It got away from me until I was basically all assembled. And then these will end up going probably in like an iron in the hat for my regional club. Yeah, I know this is cold. I'm not doing any big movements. I just saw a bulge I wanted to take out. Well, it just has to be made with 2 components, a bell and something to make it a ring. Yeah, I could do a bell. I could probably just do a bell next week so they can do it as a string. Maybe I'll go to a bigger chunk of pipe and, make something that'll have a lot more ring to it. The smaller they are, they don't have, they got a high pitch ring, I guess. Be the best way to describe it. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead, and I got a 1.25 inch marked out on there with just a little chisel mark. I'm going to come to this side where I can feel it on that sharp edge. Just make it a little bit deeper. Then I'm going to come on the side towards me. drive it right down into the bar. And that'll get that step started. Fire, I cleaned it out and restarted it basically just before the stream because I made that other fire. I'd probably, you know, I'm going to drill a hole this time instead of doing the, instead of doing the punched hole, I'll probably just drill it this time, and I'll probably draw out my reins on the power hammer to make it go a little faster. I don't want to be out here too late. My back is kind of sore. What's up, Kevin? So far, I think I know everybody here except for Rocky. Rocky Schaffner. Don't know who that is. Alright, let me drive it down a little more and then I'll start drawing it. See, I got a real good notch in there now. Isolated my material that's going to be the jaws. Oh, my nose itches. Yeah, we got pounded with snow the last couple days. Ended up getting about almost 2 foot of snow in 2 days. All right. Once again, dipping that hammer and digging that corner in. You can see I'm starting to draw it out. It's getting thinner and getting some length. Yeah, Rocky's the new guy on the block. Which is alright. I mean, I suppose if I keep doing these, I'm gonna get more people. Oh yeah, I know who Roger is. But that doesn't narrow it down. There's quite a few people using my forge at Quad State while I was being a horrible host and going and hanging out with Roy. Alright. But yeah, like I was saying, eventually, I mean, yeah, if I keep doing this, sooner or later, people are going to pop in. I'm going to have people. Up till now, it's pretty much been the only people watching me are people I've actually met in real life anyway. And this gives everybody a chance to hang out in the chat room and chat with me or chat with the others. Alright. You know, I almost should just turn my anvil, so you guys can see what I'm doing. These are just straightening blows. You can see I got a little more to go, probably one more heat, I'll be there. By turning it, you can see I was digging the corner by hammer in pretty good. So the oh, Roger, you use Tim's. All right. I thought for a minute there you were talking about using my forge, but it don't matter. All our forges are fair game at Quad State. Now I'm not tipping it because I'm so close to my finished size. I just want to keep it flat, smooth. Alright. Unlike the last one I just did, this time I'll weigh them right next to each other and make sure they're the same length. Because I could have swore they were the same length last time on that other pair, and you can see by the end result that they were not. So if I put these right together, put them notches right at the same spot, they look pretty close. All right. That was the cooler one. All right, now I'll take my hotter one, go back in the fire. Yeah. Roger. I remember Roger. So now I'll go ahead and I'll put my my step to create that shoulder in it. And like I said, on this pair, I will probably go over to the power hammers, do the reins. I already did this pair off camera earlier, so Todd Leginis, welcome to the show, the channel, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, and you know, the year before 2022 or 2023, no, 2024. The year before, we used Tim's quite a bit. So now I'm going to lay it right over, line that edge up right as close as I can get it to that edge. And drive it down. You can see I put a big step in it. For these box jaw tongs, you don't really have to hold it at an angle like you do with the other tongs. Alright, so I got a pretty good notch in there. I'm going to throw my other one in and see if I can get that same notch on my other one. Now I'm just going to take this one and straighten it up. I don't need a lot of heat, just straightening. I mean, I'm really not touching this, knocking the width back in where that shoulder is. I don't want to knock that width in. I want to leave it light. Okay, we met on bar runs last. Okay. Yeah, Troy and Eli are good peeps. You know. They were actually during quad state. I was set up. I had my little camper set up right across from Roy Adams at Christ Center Ironworks, and Troy and Eli were there as well. I don't remember. Maybe Eli did a little striking. I know Troy didn't do any forging there. I think Eli might have done a little striking, but that was it for somebody else. All right. Now I got to see if I can get this transition as close to the same spot as that one. I'm just going to hit it nice and easy, and then I'm going to compare it to my other one. I lost most of my heat because I couldn't remember which side I had to do, and I actually did the wrong side. So, not the end of the world. It will push back. Just make sure I got a lot of heat when I do it. Yeah, that was my forge on the Christmas instrumental there with when I wrapped it with Christmas lights and stuff. For those that haven't seen it, I can move out of the way. I've got a big brick forge. It doesn't do anything to my little forge table that I use for portable demonstrations and stuff. I can do everything on there I can do on this big one. It's just... Alright, so this one needs to go that way. And I need to try to get it just at the right spot that it lines up with the other step that I already made. Alright. Real good. Real good heat. All I'm looking at is how that lined up. Those two shoulders. And taking it down to about half the thickness of the bar, which was 5/8, because it was a railroad spike. Then straightening it out. Then you can see that they're pretty close to the same still. So I have a couple choices, and that's I can literally, before I put that other shoulder in, I could just go over and flatten everything down and start tapering it off and leave the material for the boss and then put the last upset in, or the last notch in later. No, dear! Hey, what's up, Eli? I mean, yeah, I can't remember. Like I said, I can't remember if Eli did any actual hammering at Quad State or not. But I do think he did a little striking for Thomas. He promised not to smash his finger again. So what I can do to make this go a little faster, well, I can go to the power hammer. You know, I'm just going to do it. I mean, everybody here, well, almost everybody here saw me do that other pair last week entirely by hand. So they know I can do it. The only problem is, if I do a lot of power hammer work, usually I'll take this close-up camera and set it up over there. Alright, let's go and push this down. Alright, so you can see in one heat, I mushed that down and it widened right out. And now I can just come in and put my other notch on this side. But first I will probably do one more heat because it's not quite as thin as I want it. Just alert, dinner is on, back in the view. Yeah, I'm not even sure what I'm having for dinner tonight yet. Oh, I had some burnt ends and gravy and mashed potatoes last night. Ooh. It'll be hard to top that. All right, Roger, and well, Thomas is always kind of lurking. He pops in, says hi, and I kind of do the same thing. Like if I pop into bar run or something, because usually I'm at work, I'll be kind of like, hey, and then disappear. Half an hour later, come back and hey. All right, let's make this a little thinner. Alright, that looks better. And like I said, I'm not doing the traditional 3 steps that you would do when you do the the traditional 3 steps when you do like a set of flat jaw talks. I mean, you are doing the same 3, but you're not doing them in the, you know, like I'm not moving on. Let me heat that up. But I'm not moving on to this 3rd one until after I flatten that out. And since I'm flattening it out, I might as well flatten the whole length out, because this is all going to need to be flattened out anyway. So that'll allow me to set my boss the same size easier. So Now I'll put that back in. I got to do a little straightening to it. I'll put the other one in and we'll get that one roughly drawn out the same. And then I'll hammer in my bosses, then go over, draw the reins out. It's going to be a pretty short one tonight. Especially since I'm not going to punch the hole. Everybody saw me last week. I punched the hole through. When I put the rivet in, I'm just going to drill it out on the drill press. I mean, mainly this is just, it's going to be 3 sets of tongs. I might make a hammer. I might even make a couple chisels and hand tools and stuff like that, so that I can make up a little blacksmith, basic beginner blacksmith toolkit. So I'll have a few pairs of tongs, maybe a hammer, chisel, maybe I'll do a handled hot cut, who knows. Alright, let me pull my first one out, straighten out that bend, because I like to try to keep them straight so they don't get away from me as much. While I'm working them. And usually I like to straighten just before I go back in the forge, but sometimes you just don't have enough heat left. Or if you got a pin, a transition, a notch like that, where you put a step in it, sometimes it'll crack there if you go to make that last minute adjustment. Alright, let me turn my air up a little bit. Let's turn that back down when I'm ready. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other end. Like I said, I could do that second and third step, one right after another, like you do traditionally on tongs, but I'm going to knock that down anyway, so I might as well just make my boss nice and flat, and my ring the same width or same thickness all the way out. And then come back and fix it up. So, like I said, I mean, there's no point in flipping it over and coming in here, because you got to get that all the same thickness anyway. So I'll just do it now rather than come in and do it later. I just had a little bump there I wanted to get rid of, even though it was cold. It's not horrible because it's still just mild steel. Alright, let me bring this one down too. Pretty good. Let me fix a little spot right at this end. So you can see I flattened it right out. I'll lay them both out here on the anvil so that you can see. Hold on a sec. I mean, I wasn't even worried about making sure they're the same size, but they ended up being pretty close. You know, just because you're starting with the same amount of material and whatnot. So, all right. That's going to be my cooler one. That's my hot one. Now we'll go back and we'll put a notch there. And I do have tools that I can go over there and, I mean, yeah, now I'm not seeing it. But I do have some tools that I can go over there and drive down in there, and I can make that notch over on the power hammer. But sometimes I'll just use the corner of the anvil. I'll get the notch in there, and then I'll just go finish the reins out. Yeah, this is a railroad spike. I just cut the heads off because so it's like 5.5 inches of. I just cut a head off, like 5.5 inches of 5/8 inch. So you could just use a 6-inch piece of 5/8 or 5.5 inches if you want to be exact, the same as these, but. Alright. Yeah, and then just railroad spikes because, you know, that's what I had and I didn't have any 5/8 square. 1/2 inch is a little too small. I mean, I probably could have used a piece of this 1/2 by 3/4. I got a bunch of that stuff still from Trail Dust there. He brought Quad State a couple of years ago and I grabbed a few pieces but still haven't used it. Alright. I wonder if I got something blocking my air down there because I don't have. My gate's not sliding real easy. It's hard to. I'll go from having nowhere to blasting it with very little adjustment. So. I don't like having it just blasted when I'm doing a demo because I get sidetracked and burn stuff up. Alright. So now I just gotta guess about maybe 1 inch long for the boss. And put that in. Maybe about there. So you can see we're getting that boss formed. I'll do one more heat here and then pretty much it's just drawing the reins out after that. And now I can drill the holes and do all that fun stuff. And this pair I'll probably make fit 1/4 inch. So, like I said, 1/4 inch, good size if you're making, you know, some small S hooks, hairpins, stuff like that. Guys use 1/4 inch round, 1/4 inch square. So, you know, I can't tell the future. I just live here 1 hour earlier. Oh. All right. Take one more heat here. all my straightening out. Trying to keep everything reasonably straight. So you can see I got a decent looking boss there. I'm thinned out. I can draw them reins out on the power hammer, but I'm going to wait, put my other one in. And I'm just doing this so that I can make sure that I keep everything as even as I can, because it doesn't take very much difference in length on these. Like this pair here, if you look at this two sides, this side's bowed out way more than that side, and it was probably only maybe, no, yeah. But you can see this side is bowed out way more than that side, and it was probably only a difference of maybe 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch in length that I didn't notice before I went ahead and riveted it. I looked at it and I was like, yeah, that looks close enough, and moved on. And you can see it in the finished work, and you know, you can see it in the finished work, but at the same time, I'm not selling it, so it'll get, you know, thrown in an iron in a hat and given to my group to raffle off or whatever. I am going to have to stop and clean up this fire a little bit because it is having a hard time getting heat up through without actually absolutely blasting it with air. So it means I'm starting to get a lot of clinker down at the bottom. I'm going to go light and put a little dimple in. Walk over, look and see where I'm at on my other one. That looks pretty close. I'm going to go with it. Got it started. We'll take another heat. Give me a second here and let me clean up this fire. Like I said, the worst thing I hate about this coal that I'm using right now is just the, you know, it doesn't make more clinker than my other coal used to or anything like that. It's just the clinker will not stay together, so I can't dig it out in decent sized chunks. Alright. Shovel some more coal in them. Alright, we'll let that warm up. While that's warming up, you guys have all seen some of the, like my fireplace tools and stuff that I've made for other people with like wheat twist handles or, you know, handles that are a little fancier or whatever. But when it comes to my forge at home, I literally have, you know, all my forge tools are the ones that I started out and made years and years ago, and they're very basic. And I'm just killing time waiting for the fire to heat back up. Alright, let me get that back in there. Should be able to get some good heat. I can hear that roaring up the chimney now. Boys are having some ice cream, and it's off to the waterfall. Thomas, don't drown your kids. Yeah, I don't know why he's taking his kids to the waterfall. Yeah, and some days, you know, I need to upgrade mine and make something a little more, you know, a little fancier. I do have a bunch of extras that I got hanging here, just, you know, like wheat twist handles and whatnot, but an extra little shovel with a wheat twist. But I don't use those ones. I use my originals, my OGs. Extra long flux spoon because I like to flux in the fire. I don't like pulling it out. Alright. There we go. What I'm looking to do is just see if I'm leaving this about the same size as the other one, right in that cross section right there. And I do have one spot where I accidentally hit it right there. It's kind of bothering me because now it's got a little notch there that doesn't belong there, but they'll still be usable. Alright, so now that I got that done, I'll flip it around. We'll draw that tag right out on the power hammer. Speed this little project up. And I have a pinched nerve in my back, so right now this whole leg is just numb and tingly. Creek bottom. Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could definitely see you being one of them off the grid kind of people there, Thomas. So when you said you were taking them down to the creek bed, you know, I just figured that it probably was the case. All right, so we'll get a good heat on that, and we'll draw that out. Waterboarding. Oh, poor kids. Alright. So like I said, I'm not worried about these being perfect, and, you know, they will literally just be iron in the hat or something like that. Alright. I got it started drawing out. I think this motor is probably going bad on this. Keeps tripping the breaker out. I actually switched the wires earlier and put that outlet on a different breaker just to make sure it wasn't the circuit breaker, and it just now tripped again. So it's definitely not the circuit breaker, it's the hammer motor itself. But it's a cheap Harbor Freight one I put on there, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. Alright, we'll keep going. Reset that breaker and see what we can do. Gonna check it over here next to my other one. I'll do one more heat on that and it'll be long enough. And I'll get the other one just sitting across the top of the fire, warming up a little bit, getting ready. Hey Jeff, how you doing? So yeah, it's kind of looking like I'm getting a lot of the old Yamez, what do I want to call it, like the hardcore of his group back in the day. Alright, that's pretty close. You can see I got the reins drawn out. Got a high spot right here. And just hit that real quick and knock it down. Once again, it's mild steel. It's not going to break if I work it at a low heat. So I'll get the other one in. Let that start heating up. So I can go draw that rein out. And the first one I'll just tip it and knock the corners off a little bit so it doesn't have sharp corners on the reins. So I got that half done. I'll heat that area up and do that. Meantime, this one's up the temp. I'll pull it off, go over and start drawing a taper on that. Getting that taper drawn, get it back in the fire. See where we're at on our first one. Now just do some straightening. But I don't know if these guys, for the guys that were here last weekend, or last Sunday, you see that's quite a bit faster when you're using that power hammer than doing them by hand. Set that one aside. And look and see if it looks about the same length as the one that I already got in one of the other cars. So they'll know that I'm close to being the same length in the tons overall. Alright, try this out some more. I didn't get as much done that time. I was fighting with it, going on a diamond, not a square. So I had to put the corner up and bring it back in. I didn't get a whole lot done in that heat because I had to really throttle back and keep it under control. And my hammer definitely works better for big stuff. 3/4 inch, 1 inch. But we'll get it. Yeah, if you got me on Troy's live, then I don't catch very many of his lives, and I just happen to be, out at work. I burning up some unused vacation time, because usually I might pop in, but I don't stay there very long. Woodworker, woodturner, retired Navy. Okay. Carter Ironworks. There's a new name I haven't seen before. Alright, now we got some heat. Now we're cooking with gas. over, compare it, one more heat, I should be there. Bended Darwin, lots of backpackers. Oh, I started without you, Possum. My bad, I didn't know you were coming, or I would have waited. We're just scooping off, making another set of tongs. I figure I'm going to throw these tongs into like a beginner blacksmith set for iron in the hat, my region or something. Looking at my length, I'm pretty good. Got a little thick spot I want to take out real quick. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead, we'll heat that up and we'll just knock the corners off. And if I was doing this and I wasn't just giving them away, although I really would never be doing them to sell them. I mean, you can go buy really nice tongs, you know, if you're buying them. So, but I would take my time and kind of knock these corners off and do a little better job than I'm doing on these. But like I said, just giving them away. What difference, you know? If they don't want them, don't buy a ticket. Alright, so I got that half. I'll knock the corners off this half next heat. Not worried about getting them perfect, just knocking the corners off so you don't have sharp corners digging in. Coincidentally, if you look at these two, one is left and one's right, but makes absolutely no difference on this style of tong. And to be honest with you, I don't even know if it makes any difference on a flat jaw set, which is where everybody's promoting left hand or right hand the most. And I know I shouldn't be leaning down. The problem is my eyes are getting bad. If I stand straight up all the time, I can't see real fine. All right. So, let's see. that I got them both going in the same direction, because that is the only difference that I can tell in left and right hand tongues is when you assemble them, if they're not both the same way, they're not gonna pivot, or the jaws aren't gonna be in the right spot. But that's not too bad. One's a little bit longer than the other. I can live with it. There's a little difference in the jaws. It's not huge. Flip it around and grab another different set of tongs. I don't know if anybody noticed, I've changed tongs at least 3 times since I started this, because I am a big proponent of finding the tongs that fit your work and holding it securely. Alright, so I used not for children. Number 1 in the beginning to make a pair of tongs with your, make a pair of tongs with your non-dominant hand. Yeah, I'll pass on that one. You know. Which is the shuffle and brass bag. Alright, so now what we got to do is we got to put a little bend on it to make our, we got to put this bend right here in. And that bend is just now the biggest thing is whatever size I make that is try to get the other one to match identically. So rather than going on, I'll set that off to the side so it doesn't cool down. And I'll do the one on the other side too. The sky hook, okay. Kevin, did it all start when I joined? Yeah, Possum, it pretty much did all start when you joined. We had a very calm and attentive bunch of guys until you showed up, and then everything just went like bleh, squirrel. But yeah, and you know, I'll be honest with you guys, after I did my candelabra, I spent very little time in the shop. I just kind of didn't have any inspiration or any desire or want or need to go out to the shop, so I just didn't. Alright, so now I gotta try to get this the same. Before I get it bent tight, put it up there and make sure that it's close, which it is. Now you can see I got that bend. Put that back in the fire. fire. For the guys that weren't here last week I did a pair of them. I did this pair, and I did these. I think I did them all by hand, didn't I? Or I may have drawn out the rain on one with a power hammer and did the other one by hand, just to show that it can be done by hand. I can't remember, but now's the time that I'll check and make sure that those are the boss and the jaw are perpendicular 90 degrees to each other and not like cocked. Doesn't take a whole lot just to straighten them if they are. No sense in fighting with them if they're crooked. And this one I still got heat in, so I'm going to go ahead and that end over. Alright, you can see that. I just put that angle in there. It went a little cattywampus on me, but I straightened it back out. What I may do is before I may go cool that, go over and drill my holes before I actually make the rounded out parts round. Farther on this one. And compare it. I did, but you know what? I'm going to take this one more to match that one. Still doing alright. Everything's still looking alright. I'm going to go ahead and cool these. Then just go over and drill the holes. Everybody saw me punch the holes last week. You know I can punch a hole. I mean, like I said, my leg is numb, so. So you can see, they're pretty close. The bosses are pretty close to the same size. The length is pretty close to the same. Once I put them together and wrap them around and put my notches in. But first we'll go over to the drill press and just drill a hole. Let me try it. Find a piece of soapstone. I'll be honest with you, I eyeball these. I don't get the ruler out and all of that. I eyeball them. Put a center mark, center punch mark. This center punch is actually an old tap. They're super hard. You do have to worry about them shattering once in a while, but got a little notch here. I'm not liking the look of. I'll scan that off real quick. Basically, right here, I had like a little notch that I just rounded off. You saw how long I was on it. It was pretty small. Transfer my mark over to that one. Put my mark, go over there and can do a lot of that, just spend a couple extra minutes hammering and get these a little closer so you don't have to do any sanding. I got a drawer full of rivets, so just grab a rivet. Look at it. I'm looking, and this side does look like it's longer than that side. And I don't know why, because everything else pretty much lined up the same. And it's pretty close. Alright, so I got a rivet. A lot of times I'll take not my good hammer, and that's enough just to lock that rivet in when I put it back in the heat. Sometimes I'll get the torch out and use the torch to do rivets. It's kind of a pain because my torch is back on the other side of the cameras. So it's kind of a pain for me to get the torch out when I'm doing live streams. But that's alright, we'll just do it this way. Alright. Oh man, I have not been paying attention. Skyhawk, Cummins, Roger was sitting on the side. Doing good, Roger, controller on my still challenge. Yeah, I mean, I've tried a couple different style bells. If I do one, it'll probably be a pretty traditional bell. Outrageously large hammer. I mean, this hammer is only like 2.5 pounds. It's same thing with that one. I mean, they're not outrageously large hammers. I mean, if we want to go to outrageously large hammers, I have some that I made a long time ago. That's 5.5 pounds. Alright, what was the stock? Yeah, possum, I just used, railroad spike and cut the head off. So 5.5 inches or so is 5/8 square. I used to swing that 5.5 pounder a lot, but I can't do it anymore. But I will also say that when I used that hammer, I did a lot of it, you just raise it up really high and you just kind of guide it down. Okay, so I got it riveted, hip moves. I'll go ahead and round them up, shape them. Get some good heat in them so they can get them to bend where I want. Don't have to settle for bending where it wants. And then we'll, oh man, I left the step out. Yeah, I can probably get it later. Yeah, I forgot to put the V in, but since these are for 1/4 inch square, I'll probably just put a piece in and clamp it down on it. Yeah, that's a pretty big hammer, and I didn't use it as a daily driver or anything like that, but there's times when you really just want one really hard central located isolated hit, and that's what it really works well for. And you see I got one side, now I'll heat the other side up, do the other side. Quench my handle in first. Starting to get a little warm. And yeah, I never claimed to be the greatest tong maker, that's for sure. And I never really claimed to be the greatest blacksmith either. Everybody just kind of thinks I'm better than I am. But with these live streams, you can see, you know, how many mistakes I make, and you know, I've got projects where even on the live stream, you know, even on a live stream, they see me get 3/4 or 90% of the way through a project, and then have it just at the end. And that's just the facts of life. With my other ones, what I did was I put that bend in ahead of time, and then I put that edge, this lip right here, in my squash block, just like that, and then took a chisel and put a 90-degree in it before I riveted it together. And it did work better. So, once again, you get to see me make another mistake on live. Six-pound head on short head. Yeah, I used to have, I don't know if I still have it or not, I had an 8-pound sledgehammer that the handle was cut real short on. I don't even think I have it anymore. I think I took the head off and put a regular handle on it and used it for something else other than blacksmithing. But yeah, it's a learning, it's not a mistake, it's a learning educational experience, I guess. So, and you know, I mean, I'm not worried because they aren't dead exactly the same on both sides. The curvature, they're not, even though I laid them down and showed you guys one right next to each other, this pair couldn't have been more than 1/8 of an inch off from one side to the other, but there's just enough to make it not line up the way you want it. Alright, so they pivot easy. I could tighten that rivet up just a little more. I'm going to cool the handle end real quick. It's getting hot again. And then I'll size them to my 1/4 inch square stock. For that, I really only need to heat up just the tips. grab a 1/4 inch flat bar, and what I'm going to do, like I said, I did them before by putting them in the swatch block and putting the notch in them before I riveted them together. So what I'll do is I'll just put this in it and clamp it down. On this size stock and that size tongs, that'll be plenty. The biggest thing is just try to get it straight and even off the end. I lost all my heat just trying to line it up. Dang it. There is more than one way to do this though. And if I don't get it this time, I'll just cool it off. I'll take a square file and just file a notch in. It's only for holding 1/4 inch square, so that notch has only got to be, you know, 1/16 of an inch or so deep. And I suppose I could do it over here as well. Just put it in there, and this piece is kind of long. And that's moved on me. I think I'm just going to squeeze it down to get it parallel. Just file a notch in there. So you can see there's just the third set. I'm going to cool it. I'm just going to file that in because I didn't do it in time. And I have to move the camera just to use my saw. If I cut a chunk of that 1/4 inch bar off, you know, if I had cut like a little chunk off and put it in there, it'd be easier to handle. But I have to move the camera to get to the saw. That's a pain in the butt. So I will just take a file, yes, a real square file, not a whatchamacallit, a grinder. And just file it. Notch in there. Like I said, it's 1/4 inch square or round, so that little notch does not have to be very deep. Alright, like I said, it doesn't need to be much of a notch to be able to hold that, you know, sideways, up and down. Of course, now that I got that much of a notch in it, I could probably hammer that deeper. And there's a pair for 1/4 inch. So I've got quarter, three-eighths, and half. And that is weird because I use the same amount for them. And look at the difference in them. But I suppose these were a little shorter on this one. I don't know. Let me go touch that. Handle the jaws up. Get rid of any rag or burrs on the end of the handle. Alright, so there's 3 pieces. 1/4, 3/8, and half. Like I said, those will go in a probably a basic. I'm probably going to make a whole basic toolkit, and then at our twice a year we have all state meetings where all the regions come together at one central location. And they hire an outside demonstrator for that and stuff, but it's a bigger meeting, so I'll probably do a toolkit and put it in the iron in the hat at that, because it'll make the most amount of money for the club. So I may be doing a live stream of, you know, making some kind of hammer, making, you know, just a basic hammer, maybe some chisels. I don't know. It does give me something to do for live streams. Maybe I'll do a bell next. Maybe if I don't have the right size pipe, I will wrap and weld a bell. But because I've got, you know, over the years, and it's taken me quite a few years to obtain, you know, a pretty good collection of tongs. I have a rack that's identical to this on the other side. That there's actually 2 rows just like this one, and the one on the other side, both these rows are full. But these are my better tongs that are on this side. So like these, if I didn't already have bolt tongs and I was making them, would be on that side if I was keeping them, but I'm not. I'm going to turn my heat back down, turn my air off, and yeah, I think we're going to call it. You know, I've done pretty good out here. I haven't had, in all my streams, I only had like 1 that I had any drop frames on. So there's 3 pairs of, you know, just, if I spent more time, they'd probably be better. If I spent more time in the forge, but you know, you're only as good as the practice that you get. And I don't get a whole lot of practice. Lately, coming out here and spending this couple hours on a Sunday has been yeah, and probably a lot of the stuff that I've been making is going to be iron in the hat stuff that I make during these streams, and like I said, I mean, there's been times when I was, like not even struggling to find something to take forward iron in the hat. And now I've got all kinds of stuff just laying around from doing these live streams and stuff. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to call it. I don't know what time it is. 7:30. It's actually pretty early for what we normally. Usually we're out here till 8:30, 9 o'clock. But unless somebody can think of something else we can make that's kind of a quick and easy project. And no, I'm not making a trivet. Yeah, Roger, I've been trying to do them just on Sundays at 6 o'clock, my time, here in New York. So I don't know where you guys are located, all of you, but yeah, like I said, I'm probably just going to call it a little early tonight. Like I said, I got a pinched muscle in my back, or a pinched nerve in my back, and this one leg is just, this whole side of my leg is just tingly and numb. And yeah, I might do a bell because Donna said that's this month's project. I mean, I don't know. I did a couple bells just before Christmas, so. All right, guys, I'm out.